You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and what follows is a conversation between myself and Tuomas Rounakari from the band Korpiklaani. Korpiklaani have an excellent new album out sometime in September, depends on the territory, I suppose, where you're at, but here in Australia it's 7th of September. The name of the album is Kulkija. Talk about that and a whole heap of other things associated with Finnish culture. Really fascinating conversation, this one. Enjoy. Hey, Tuomas, how's things, mate?
It's good. It's going good.
Yeah, you at home at the moment, mate, or are you guys on tour?
What?
Are you on tour at the moment, or are you back at home in Finland?
We're back at home. We're leaving to Russia on 6th of September.
That'll be exciting.
So, yeah, we go all the way to Vladivostok, so it's pretty cool.
Great fans in Russia, I hear, mate. There's a few Australian bands that have gone over there and talked it up, and I've also seen the YouTube videos of performances by bigger bands over there, and the crowd looks like they're getting right into it.
Oh, absolutely! It's one of the wildest places. It's really quite something to be over there.
Yeah, it's great to see.
And it's also, they don't get to see metal bands that much, especially like when you go outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg. So that partly explains it.
Yeah, and I imagine I don't know where to start when I try to describe your sound to people. I tried to do it today, but I failed dismally. But I described it as vast, epic, haunting. But the key point that I wanted to relay to somebody was that yours is music that actually stays with you. You find yourself thinking about it afterwards, meaning you're thinking about, what was I just listening to? Because it is so different to what is out there and easily available. And that's a key point, easily available. So do you get a lot of feedback like that?
Well, thank you, first of all, for those, because I think I feel the same way about our music. And also, for us, we've never been planning what we do. We've never been sort of looking for influences to imitate. So our music is really based on things that we appreciate, things that we like, things that we've sort of like taken into ourselves from the folk music or the mythological side of our own heritage, or from the bands that we like, but the creative process is really about doing our thing and not really even thinking about what other people see or think about what we do. So I think this drive to be authentic and to do things that feels good to ourselves is something that actually creates that you just explained.
Yeah, it's the sort of album that it doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered when it's released, because it's one of those albums that you could pick up in 5 years' time or 10 years' time or what have you, and it will still remain relevant because it isn't an album that reflects the trends of the day.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm taking away from it.
Yeah, that's. I do wish you're right, and that's what we feel too. Like there was something magical in the process of doing this album. We weren't planning to release 14 songs and do a longest album ever. We weren't even planning to release a 10-minute songs this time, like there's one in this album. But it all sort of just happened by following the flow, following like what really feels right now, without thinking much more of it. And I think one of the things that maybe is related to that feeling of timelessness is that this album is not so much produced in that sense that many albums are. There are a lot of first takes, especially in Jonne's vocals and my violin tracks. There are a lot of first takes, and also things like myself improvising some violin lines underneath Jonne's singing that were just selected to be in it. And this is something that creates that feeling of some kind of an organic feeling to it, and being in a moment in a different way than trying to be setting the trends or following the trends of today's music business. So yeah.
Well, I know, I'm going to flatter you here a bit, mate, but you're far too smart to follow any stupid trends. You're well beyond that. And I was reading about you, mate. You're an ethnomusicologist, and you specialise in ritualistic music of, and I might get this wrong, Finno-Ugric and Arctic peoples. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, the Finno-Ugric people is maybe a bit an academic term, but it relates to the linguistically related peoples that because the Finnish language is quite strange. We don't really know how our language has developed and where it came from, but there are many theories on that. And linguistically, we are clearly linked to a number of indigenous people living in the Arctic areas. And for me, I was always intrigued by the most archaic levels of our folk music, because most of the folk music that we know is basically dance music from the 19th century. So I was interested about, because Finland hosts the largest archive of folk poems in the whole world. And it's hundreds of thousands of poems. And all of these poems are actually lyrics to a song. Because poetry was never recited in Finland, it was always sang.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's a musical tradition. And so I was intrigued about the music that carried those myths all the way to our present day. And those are the questions that have led me to travel to Siberia, because if we go back in time, we don't have to go that far back. 200 years is enough that we are actually had areas in Finland that were living in a hunter-gathering way, hunter-gathering societies. So if we go to Siberia, to these linguistically related people, we can actually find some traces of our own roots and our own way of seeing the cosmos. So this is my favorite topic. So so I might go on forever if we go to this topic.
Well, no, it's a really interesting topic, and I want to offer you a heartfelt. I don't know how to frame this. I'm reaching for the right word to say. It's not congratulations, but I'm really grateful that you recognise the value of your culture and the value in bringing a culture to a broader audience. Because people do need to know about this, because it's part of our collective history. It's part of human history. And when you develop an academic fascination in it, as you have done, you're bringing facts to the table. You're not bringing just the superfluous. Oh, my country won this war, rubbish. It's more like this is my people, and this is our culture, and this is our heritage.
Yeah, and I think in the academic realm, it's even more important than the facts are the questions that you start asking, and you start thinking that, where is this coming from? What is this for real? What is the meaning behind this? And this constant debate and research of sort of possibilities. That's something that is most important. And Finland is peculiar in a one sense, and that's that because we've all been colonized, more or less. It's like the colonization that the Western cultures have proceeded all over the world. It began somewhere. And from Finland, it's easy to see that it began from ourselves, because Finland has also been colonized in that sense. Not maybe so aggressively that some of the indigenous people have, but more successfully. Like
Yeah,
for
I
example,
understand. Yeah.
like the Christianity, for example, like we think that it's totally normal and part of our culture to see kids in a Christmas time in a school play to dress up like Bedouins. And we think, we don't even think that it's kind of strange.
Yes. Yep.
And so to become aware of these things, sort of like what was the original way of thinking, or what could help us today to live our lives better, and those questions are really like I believe that we can learn from our own history and from the indigenous cultures ways of looking at the world and ways of looking at ourselves that can be most healing.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And you made another really good point there when you talk about it's really important that people get curious and they start asking questions about culture, because that's what keeps it alive. Sure, you can have
Exactly.
you can have the academic pursuit of it, which is basically memorizing what's there, but unless you're asking questions about it, like why did they do this, or how did people get there, you're not really going to get to the root of the persona or the characteristics of the civilization.
And I think one of the problems with the academic world, well, not really the academic world because they understand this already, but there's a tendency to sort of put culture in museums, sort of, and then we think that the culture was as it is reflected on those museums and on those books. But culture is a constant debate. Culture is always moving. Culture is always taking ideas from somewhere and preserving something that people feel that is important. And so culture is in a constant process of dying and rebirth and changing and transcending, or declining.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's always movement, and that's many of us have very romanticized ideas or nostalgic ideas about the history, that it was fixed at some particular way. And this is what I find most interesting, is that we can actually access today some of the things that were hundreds of years back, some of the ideas that were there, and implement them to the modern society. And they will become something different by that process. But this is all about seeing things, like looking for answers and asking questions and finding out things that maybe never existed, but that might exist in the future because of this thinking.
I could listen to you talk for hours about this, to be honest with you, because, I know I'm meant to talk about music, but I am fascinated by culture and civilization and how we've become who we are. I mean, I know enough about history to understand the impact of the Magna Carta, for example, but you like to go beyond that, these man-made laws, to understand civilization and the ties that bind us all together. For example, trade routes that have been established and how people were able to create areas of common interest. That really fascinates, because there's so much division now, isn't there, through politics? There's just constant division. You're this, you're that. We've got identity politics, the whole works. But when it all comes back down to it, it was only merely, to your exact point, a couple of hundred years ago, a lot of civilizations were virtually hunter-gatherers, and they were just trying to get by.
Yeah, exactly.
We are trying, but, gosh, as I say, we've only got this 20 minutes for this interview, so I've had some music stuff. But just focusing on you again. Okay, so with regards to Korpiklaani, now I hope I pronounced the name of the band correctly there, but I was reading that you've done a lot of work in film, TV, and especially theatre. So how does theatre come across in your work in the band?
Well, theatre was before Korpiklaani, and nowadays I still I'm one of the founding members of Ruska Ensemble, which is a small theater group that focuses on collaboration with the indigenous cultures in the north. So our work is really about collaboration, not sort of like that we go to Greenland, for example, to learn something from the Inuits or take something from them and then present it in Finland, but sort of going there and saying, what would you like to tell to the Finnish audience? And and so that collaboration is something that has stayed, and I find it so valuable and meaningful as work that I'm still doing that, and we have about one production in every 2 years at the moment, and our last production was a collaboration with the Inuit theater in Greenland. The Sami, we had one Sami artist from Finland and a Chukchi woman from the Bering Bay, together with me on stage, and it was really wonderful just to brainstorm together. Like what are the stories you want to tell?
That'd be
what
stunning.
are the bits you want to tell today, and see what connects us, and exactly what connects us, not what divides. Not what makes us different.
Indeed, yeah. Is there a copy of that footage on YouTube or Vimeo or somewhere?
I doubt that it would be publicly released. It was streamed actually.
Okay. Yep.
So there is a decent version of it, but I doubt that it's public.
Okay.
But maybe someday.
Fingers crossed. I'd love to see it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I'd better make this my last question to let you go to the next interview. But the Australian audience and Australian fans, have you had a lot of feedback from us over the years?
Well, I mean, you guys seem to be totally enthused about us, and that's so cool. Like we don't meet you too often. And we hope to come down there next May. It's not definite yet, but the plan is there. But every time Australians show up in our shows, there's always this sort of this adventurous, excited feel to you guys, and it's really lovely. It's really great to see you there on the road. So
wonderful.
So
that's fantastic. Yeah.
I really hope that we'll get to party together on May.
Well, fingers crossed. These interviews are always over too quick, mate, but I understand that's the nature of them. But look, before I let you go, congratulations on an extraordinary career, and I feel like you're just getting started, and I'm so grateful that somebody like you is out there and sharing the music and the culture of Finland and doing what you're doing with metal, the whole thing, mate. So congratulations on a stellar career, and please just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. This was great. I could have kept on talking for ages.
Likewise,
my
mate.
favorite subjects.
No worries, mate. You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was a conversation between me and Tuomas Rounakari from the band Korpiklaani. Thanks so much for listening.